Welcome to the Saints, the City of Me, audio love letters from the city of New Orleans and our beloved Saints. Question for you. What do you do when the Saints suddenly roll into Paris with Demario Davis, Greg Bensall, Mrs. Benson, and a bunch of Musketeers? Well, if you're us, you book the next flight into Paris and you spend a weekend there. So we're going to recap the weekend. I say weekend. We got there Saturday night. The weekend we spent in Paris and our experience of being around those individuals and the team. How you doing, Mike?
That was Sir John and
Are
Elio.
Are you that lazy that you didn't bother to learn to speak that? I know what
Really
type of
need,
Brit you are when you go on
need
holiday.
about five. You need 5 words, don't you? As long as you say
This
bonjour
was,
to everyone, they give you a bit of leeway.
well, this was a conversation in our Discord, and the overwhelming opinion from our American friends was you just need to be able to say hello, goodbye,
Yeah,
thank you. And I was
yeah.
like, you can get how are you in there? So yeah, we a couple of times in the
that also. I was going to say that feeds back to when we were staying in the hotel, and the French lady who was on the bar cafe thing said, "God, Americans are so bloody rude." Because I think you were very polite and attempted.
I corrected her and I said the Brits have got their got their
We
faults
have
as
our
well.
moments. Have you not seen British football fans overseas?
Yeah, but I think she was being a bit flippant. But yeah, so me and Mike decided, bit of a backstory really. Mike and I heard rumours from some people in France that Demario Davis was going to be in Paris, and then we got some good intel from a friend of ours who messaged us and said a souse. Well,
Did you ever used to say souse when you were younger? Do you know
No,
what souse is?
I was born in the 80s, mate.
All right, I won't. Yeah, but when you used to souse someone, it's when you used to get off with them. But anyway,
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely not in my vocabulary from that point of view.
did you souse Lorraine? That's what your mates used to say to you or whatever. But anyway,
Was Lorraine the lady who served
no,
me the
I
beer?
don't.
I don't know.
I happened to throw that name out there, mate. Sorry.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'll find out about Lorraine later when we maybe after.
Yeah, well,
we've
when I was young,
together.
most people would have said, "Did you souse Dave?" Because obviously, I've got that sort of that little sort of campiness to me, haven't I? That most people think I'm gay. So anyway, swiftly moving on, Dan.
Yes, I was going to almost take your punchline away, not punchline, catchphrase away from you. So yeah, so we got told, yep, we are over from these dates. Going to be announced on this day. Keep it quiet. Once I think the message ended. Once it's announced, go nuts. And we did go nuts. We went and booked flights.
I think booking flights in a hotel is a physical representation of going nuts. I would have thought.
I would say going one step further, inadvertently, maybe not deliberately being nuts, was when we found out that we were staying in the same hotel as the team. And I think maybe the person who suggested that hotel to us already knew that, but didn't let on. But we'll get to that point as we go on. So yeah. So the Saints announced it on the Monday. I think Mike and I trawled over travel options, and we got to a point where on Wednesday we found some flights which were reasonable. As I've said to a couple of people, the bizarre thing was the return flights out of Heathrow into Charles de Gaulle were cheaper than a one-way Eurostar train. Bear that in mind. If the Saints announce they're playing in Paris next year, I would strongly suggest people get their Eurostar tickets as early as possible because they just go up and up in price. They are crazy.
Another little qualifier for that, Dan, is that we weren't completely aware. In fact, we weren't aware that it was Bastille weekend in France.
Yeah, that's
in
showing
Paris.
our British ignorance that we wasn't aware.
Yeah, and that's I think that's their biggest celebrationary event of the year, isn't it? Possibly aside from things like Christmas, etc.
Yeah, it's like 4th of July, right? For France.
Yeah, it's Independence Day, I think, isn't it? So that probably didn't
the
help
monarchy,
with
that is right. The Bastille Day was overthrowing
the
monarchy. Yeah,
that's the that probably didn't help with the cost of flights and hotels, but what wise advice from you, Mr. Harper? Get your travel tickets very, very, very sharpish.
could you follow my advice and book your flights to for our trip to New Orleans? Because I know you
Right,
still haven't done it.
you're
This
not meant
man, this
to
man,
trip me up.
this man has his hotel booked, but not his flights. So
And
please,
why have I got the hotel booked?
because we got James, we
Because
sorted
somebody else is
James and
depending
trip
on me.
out. James is dependent on
So
having a room to
I
sleep
will
in.
never let anybody down, but I may let myself down. I think that's where we are. But no,
Deflating.
I'm gonna sort those out. I think next week. So, but anyway, so going back to obviously booking the flights, booking the hotel, and then obviously one of the things that we also had to factor in was our time of travel over, because we'd already arranged, hadn't we, to meet James and Jason, who was over from the USA, who were previous guests from the Dome Patrol podcast. So we'd already arranged to meet them on Saturday morning for a drink. So we were a bit concerned, weren't we, about the fact that we were meeting people for a drink and then we were going to try and get on a flight, which
I thought we were quite well behaved. To be fair,
we were.
I was
We were.
very responsible. I was interjecting my Guinnesses with lemonades, sprites,
Yeah.
uh, throughout the day, and I think we was in good shape. But that was a nice afternoon, right? So Jason's
It was
brother-in-law
lovely.
was over. It was really nice
Yeah.
to just have a drink, and there was a few guys from the Saints UK WhatsApp group came along. Mark Daly came along for some excuse me, for a few drinks. Tom came along. Is it Gigi?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
Gigi
her
came
and
along,
her
and her
partner,
other half.
who was
Yeah, so
who was
but that
soon
was nice.
to move to Chicago. So I'll be
Yeah,
seeing them again in October.
but that was nice just to have a catch up and just chew the fat
Mm.
about things. And the funniest thing, and I know Jason's and James already talks about this on their podcast as I listened to it earlier this week, trying to teach the rules of cricket to a couple of Americans who've never watched sport before was interesting. They got it though, but it was. It was
It baffled them that a game like that could go on for 5 days and still be a draw.
listen,
Americans, as we know, don't like
that's
draws.
that's a tie is one of the signs of the apocalypse, right? We all know that. We all know that. Another thing from during the week is we thought we'd be a bit opportunistic, and we thought we'd chance our arm. So
Hmm.
I reached out, got the email address for the media team at the Paris Musketeers. So obviously the Saints were coming over, and in partnership with the Musketeers, we're going to be at one of their games on Sunday against the Vienna Vikings. So I reached out to the media team there, and lo and behold, to our absolute surprise, they said, "Yeah, we'll give you media credentials." So me and Mike got media credentials. So for the first time since starting this podcast, we were credentialed for an event, which was, we'll talk about it. It was, whilst obviously it's anywhere near the magnitude of an NFL event or a Saints
Yeah.
game or a Pelicans game. It was really interesting to get up close and see what goes on, and we'll come to that. So yeah, so we flew out
We'll touch on all of that.
Heathrow. Flight was delayed. Lovely. Always appreciate
Yeah.
that. Um, by the time by the time we got to Paris, I had an absolutely banging headache. And I think that's because we didn't have a drink from the time we left the pub.
Your hangover was already there, wasn't it?
The element of, yeah, we'll get a train quickly disappeared, and I was like, just get an Uber, and then I was like, just get a cab, just get a city cab. It's €65. Let's just jump in. So yeah, so it was a good day Saturday, right? Enjoyed
Mm.
it.
Yeah, no, it was a really enjoyable day. Those few hours that we spent with the guys was lovely. And as you said, with the guys who additionally turned up from the WhatsApp group, that was absolutely fantastic. That at such short notice, they just made the effort to come over and have a drink and say hi, and really, really good
Yeah,
people. So that
I'll,
that
I'll
was
never
absolutely lovely.
I'll never turn up the opportunity to talk Saints with anyone. And so impromptu afternoons like that, although meeting James and Jason wasn't impromptu, I love it because you just sit there and have a real good chat about it. And we had some laughs. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. So we get to Paris and then pull up to this lovely hotel, right? Really nice hotel. And we pull up outside and the street is an absolute wreck.
Yeah.
The pavement is all over the place. It's like potholes. And
It just as an explanation, if people have ever stayed in the Moxie, sometimes on O'Keefe Street, it looks like something's been detonated and there are barriers everywhere and you can't park up here and you can't move there. And that's what the outside of this hotel was like. And the worst thing about this hotel, not, me and Dan didn't book it because it was very plush, but it was a pretty plush hotel. and it just looked like it just looked like New Orleans, didn't it, on the
It did
outside?
New
It
Orleans.
was just like,
But we'll
what the
come to
hell?
why that was quite appropriate, although we've alluded to it already.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was funny because we at the airport we was like, we've only got typical fashion. Me and Mike had no euros on us because we just fly by the seat of our pants job. So it was like, oh, we've got Revolut and whatever else. She goes, yeah, they take Revolut, it's fine. And we pull up and the cab driver's like, cash. He's like, I haven't got any cash, mate. Like, no cash. I was like, I know what you're saying. I understand you. I have no cash. And he's like, cash. I just pulled out my Revolut. I was like, it's this or nothing, mate. I've got nothing
I
else to
thought
give you.
I thought he was going to snap it when he put it in the machine because he
He
was
was
not
not
happy
happy at
at
all
all,
about it.
was
But
he?
I get it. It's like anything. Like
No.
when you
Yeah.
get charged a fee on stuff, if you can get cash,
Yeah,
something when you
absolutely.
go to New
And also,
York and the guy's like off the meter, and he's like,
yeah.
"I'd love it on the meter."
Mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
anyway, we got
we,
through that.
yeah, the other disappointment. So one of the reasons the hotel was recommended to us, or the recommendation came with, there's a really nice bar at the top called Sky Bar, like really really nice. It was like, right, that's a bit of us. We can land, chuck our bags in, straight up to Sky Bar, have an old fashioned, toast the night, and get a nice view
Get
of
to bed,
Paris.
yeah.
We got there and we found out the Sky Bar is incredibly exclusive, very plush, and you have to book it about 4 days in advance to even get a table at 2 a.m.
I
So we didn't
know.
get
And
the
you have
Sky
to, I
Bar.
think it's something silly like you have to guarantee that you're going to spend 85 euros per person in order to get in.
€25 per person to go up, but then guarantee you'll spend €50 per person.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that
Yeah.
is €75 per person. And I didn't see the price of the drinks, but I'm going to assume that probably one or two old fashions would have covered us on that. But we didn't get up
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. No, you could.
I put my go on.
I was going to say you could see by the people that were actually going up there that it was obviously because I think it's the highest rooftop bar in Paris, and it would have had outstanding views. Obviously, because we know where the hotel was situated.
It reminded me of
It was an Instagrammer's delight, wasn't it?
yeah.
Everybody who looked like they were going up there looked like they were going up there just to put pictures on their gram, which
If
we
you're
would
of
have
an
done.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're of an age like me and Mike, it reminded me of, like, do you remember like in the city in the 2000s, like you go to Digress and places like that, and it was all like just photos, and everyone's coming up
Yeah.
looking dapper.
Mm,
Obviously, you and I weren't looking like that. I had a
no.
Tulane t-shirt on, um,
Yeah.
baseball cap.
I would have had a pair of flip flops on as well. So yeah,
You did have a
we
pair of
wouldn't have
flip-flops
looked
on.
that dapper, would we?
Yeah,
So
so
yeah, so we didn't get up there. So basically, I think you went and turned up into bed, and I went and just got a sleep tea.
put me loops in,
Yeah.
rolled over. Do you remember you said I'll leave the lights on, and I was trying to get asleep when you went out for you. And I put my boxers over the light because they were black,
Yeah.
and it covered the light. And you was like, "You don't need to do that. I just turned the light off." I was like, "Fine, fine."
Yeah.
So that was our night. Get up in the morning, and this was when it became
Nice and
apparent.
early.
Yeah, so went downstairs and was loitering outside, looking at like the best options to get to the stadium, which was about a 30-minute drive from
Yeah, just
south of
over a
Paris.
30-minute drive. Yeah.
And then we saw John Brown, the Saints videographer, walking outside, and was like, ah. And then I saw Michael Demokla, the photographer, and I was like, ah, so they're staying at a hotel. Hence why the street was quite apt for the hotel. I bet they turned up when they was like, what is this? Start home from
Oh,
home.
look, we're home. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
home.
maybe that's why they booked it. What? I don't know if they got a corporate partnership with Accor or whatever it was, but maybe they took a look at the street, Google Maps, and went, bit of us.
We'll have some of that. No, but yeah. So obviously we woke up, realised because we saw some of the staff there that, and at the time we just thought maybe, and we'll sort of allude to something a little bit later, but we thought maybe some of the staff was staying there. But then yeah, so we again jumped in a Uber and fired off to the stadium.
Yeah, to meet John from French Quarter Podcast and Saints France. So I'm gonna just to stick a pin in that there for a minute, Mike, just to recap what had happened prior to us getting to Paris. So the Saints arrived on Thursday. Demario Davis and some of the Saints business staff went to the New Orleans bar, which is down just by Notre Dame Cathedral, isn't it? Not far from there, just on the Seine. and Demario spent a few hours there. Our friend Ilio and our new friend Trent. I
Yeah.
hope I pronounced that right. They got to spend
Bertrand.
some time with Demario, chatting to him. Margot, the International Fan of the Year, was there, and it was just nice. And we talked about this afterwards, but if we had realised, we probably would have taken a couple of days off work and flown out. And if we hadn't had the commitment with James and Jason and gone out on a Thursday, because that really looked like it was quite intimate, and the opportunity to like
Yeah.
Demario wasn't surrounded by people, and it
Yeah,
just looked
being
like it
pushed
was
from pillar
a
to
really
post, wasn't
nice,
he?
yeah, really nice evening. And then I don't know what did they do on the Friday? They was at the
Was it
embassy.
flat?
No, they was at the embassy on Friday, I
The
think.
embassy Friday, and then wasn't it flag football on the
Flag
Saturday?
football on Saturday. So there was at the embassy on
Yeah.
Friday morning. And then I think Demario went and did some sightseeing and got some good media footage and images of him around Paris at the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower, the Champs Elysees. What's the Arc de Triomphe? Arc de Triomphe. So he was there, and then on Saturday, don't laugh at my pronunciation. Ilio does that
Sorry.
enough. John does that enough already. And on the Saturday, they had flag football. And that's when our guy John was able to go to that event and actually get some good sound bites with Demario. Spent some time talking to him. I think he maybe asked him some questions for their podcast. Maybe got some audio clips of him doing that. There's some really good pictures of him fist bumping with Demario, and Demario did him a sound bite saying, "You're listening. This is
Yeah.
Demario Davis. You're listening to the French Quarter podcast." Looked like it was a really good day, and it looked like it was really well attended. So hats off to the Saints
Yeah.
for giving that opportunity to those young kids who were playing flag football and to meet
Yeah.
someone well, if those kids are Saints fans, they probably don't realise it like one of the top 5 Saints of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Demario. So that was great. So I want to just recap what they did there, because I think it's important to touch on the fact that it wasn't just about the Musketeers game. Saints did do a
No.
lot in the run up
Yeah,
to that.
it seemed like it was a very well coordinated PR exercise, which is exactly what it is. With the international marketing rights over there and the rumours of a game in Paris, which if you listen to anybody with any inside sort of knowledge, they believe that is looking very likely for next year.
It's deafening that it's going to happen. I know no one can say it's going to happen, and I think it will probably come down to the NFL confirming it. But I would imagine the Saints are preparing for that to be their game next year.
Yeah.
So that was that, right? So we get to the what was it called? The Stade
Stade de was it the Stade de
Ramon?
Robin? Look at us. Oh yeah, our research was it was top notch.
It was impeccable. Let me
Let me have
Stade de
a quick.
Robert Bobbin. Stade de
Yeah,
Robert
that's
Bobbin,
what
and this is like
I
an
got.
athletic stadium.
I got the middle bit.
Middle bit, yeah. He got his middle name right. So we get an Uber there, pull up, and we go and find John. They had a little tailgate going on, which was pretty cool, right? They had inflatables for kicking and throwing. They had a couple of food vendors there. They had 2 merch stands for the Musketeers, which I was quite impressed with, really, because they're a new team. They've only been going a little while, and they had quite a good selection of merch there. And
they did.
we got our media credentials.
Yeah.
I was a bit disappointed. He crossed off the bit saying VIP. I was like, nah, go on, leave that blank.
We got the media credentials, and then the areas that he crossed off that we weren't allowed in was a little bit bittersweet. It was like,
yeah, can't go in the VIP section. I was like,
yeah. But no, as you sort of touched on, it from a couple of guys doing a podcast to get any form of credentials or media credentials for any sort of event is a first step towards something. So we were both really pleased with that, weren't we? It was an event, that we were pleased to be there. There were people there that we know, such as John, and obviously there were people from the Saints hierarchy, and obviously Demario and his wife were there, and so just for us to have access and also to get near in and around these people and to be able to have a couple of conversations with some of the staff was great for us.
I've got my credential here hanging up, actually. We had access to the media area inside the stadium. We had access to the field.
Yeah.
And the sideline. So we was allowed onto the field to get pictures and footage and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool, because I wasn't expecting that. I don't know. Yeah. So we went through with John and Bertrand. round, and they showed us around and took us in to show us where we had in the media room, the press room. Mike
Yeah.
wanted to go to the toilet and almost walked into the locker room.
Yeah.
It was like, you
Yeah.
realise you'd made a mistake there.
I did have my Google Translate up and open to sort of understand that. Yeah, maybe not going into the locker room with a load of lads who pummel me as I walked
Yeah.
in.
So we was hanging around on there's a athletics track, and we was
Sorry, Dan. Just a quick interjection on my part, just to say thank you very much to my wife, who in a sort of 24-hour period of time from me and Dan deciding we were going over, she did us a couple of shirts, didn't she? Some Saint City Me shirts, which actually I thought were pretty good looking.
yeah,
Like them,
the
so yeah.
Funkos on them.
Thanks to wifey.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
obviously thanks to their wives for tolerating us turning it around.
absolutely.
Short notice, say, can we go to Paris to see the Saints? Because I think I said like 3% chance might meet Demario Davis. So we come out, we're loitering around, we're watching the players warm up. It's quite interesting to get so close to the pitch. Look, I know they're not NFL players, but they are professional athletes. And getting up close and seeing it, and obviously Jack Del Rio is the head coach, so we saw Jack Del Rio wandering around, giving feedback to the team. And it was just a really cool experience. And, other media people were around us, and we were quite tight with John and Ilio. And then one of my favourite moments, I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, I do.
We were standing there, and I looked up, and there was the VIP section was just above the tunnel. And I saw someone in a Paris jersey, and it had Bensel 25 on the back. I said, do you think that's Greg Bensel up there? Obviously, we've been pumping out loads of content around this. And he's chatting away to people. He looks like he's having a great time. And he turns around and he looks, and we wave, all of us, the four of us wave. He waves and he points and he goes, "Hey, you're the podcast guys. These are the guys I told you about." I was just like, Greg Benson, that's who we are.
Yep, which was nice.
What's that? Fourth in charge, fourth highest person at Saints off in the
Yeah,
business
yeah,
staff
yeah.
and front office, like after Miss Benson,
Silver Fox
Lauscher, and
Bensel.
do you know what? Right, he looks younger now with that
He
his
does with
hair
his
silver than he does on his photos that have been taken on Saints website. He looked like he was having a great time. He looked like a great time. And then we ventured back out, didn't we? Because we was like, well, let's go and see what's going on at the tailgate. And that's when memories were made, right?
fair.
Heroes were met.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, we obviously myself and Dan, obviously knowing that Demario was going to be there, we brought a couple of little bits of our own merch over, didn't we? Just in case we got the opportunity to sort of meet Demario and obviously ask him to sign these items for us. And obviously he was there and he was doing a little bit of a meet and greet anyway, wasn't he? So myself and Dan lined up like good children, waiting for the opportunity.
I was literally lining up with children.
Yeah, and got the opportunity to meet him. So when we were there was a point where Dan looked over and he went, "He don't look that big." I was sort of looking, thinking, okay, but yeah, Dan was like, "No, he doesn't look that big."
It's not as big as I
Obviously,
thought. I said
then when
he's
we got,
not. He doesn't look as big as I thought he would. I said.
well, I don't know, I'm sure it was doesn't look
Words
that
to that
big.
effect. Let give me
Anyway,
some rope here, right?
but yeah, so anyway, when we got the opportunity to meet him, say hi, and then ask if he could sign our merch, I was horribly chuffed to get the opportunity for him to sign my actual official Demario Davis jersey, not one from China. So yeah, that was big. And I think he was quite chuffed because obviously when I went up, he was like, "Whoa," because he realised it was his own
Yeah, I think there
jersey.
was a lot of generic Saints stuff, and you might have been the first
Yeah,
person to pick up a Demario jersey.
so that was
I
great.
just had a plain white Saints ball with a stitch fleur de lis on it.
And the wonderful thing is, like my father-in-law, without me even knowing, he took the picture and he framed it for me. So that was my father-in-law did that for me today. So thank you, Nicholas.
What a
But
gent.
yeah, so we got the opportunity for him to sign stuff for us and say hello to him, and that was great. And yet again, if you've listened to a previous podcast, and actually even if you just go back to the last one prior to this, which was the wives episode, I think at one point when we were having a conversation about heroes and who you'd like to meet from the Saints, I think Karen at one point said for me, Demario Davis, without doubt, one of my heroes. I think he's the same for you, Dan, an absolute leader of men and a gentleman and a fantastic human being. So
Absolutely.
yeah, just Yeah, so that was a wonderful. So if anything, regardless of the trip, I know you touched on it earlier, Dan. Probably from a personal point of view about getting interaction and maybe being able to get some clips and stuff for the pod, it would have been best to have gone over a couple of days before. But obviously, we didn't have that option because it was so last minute for us. So I think fair play to us for actually even getting out there. But for me, the trip was worthwhile purely from that opportunity to meet Demario and to get him to sign our bits. I was
Poor wife,
happy.
she was so patient, wasn't she? Because she
She
was
was a trooper,
she
wasn't
was
she?
with him. Yeah, do you know what? Right, it was roasting hot. Demario, he looked dapper. He was decked out in a black suit, black shirt, impeccably cut. The fit was perfect.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just kept thinking to myself, he's got to be roasting. There was at one point when I
Mm,
see him just take a flag, a tan, like a hanky,
yeah.
whatever you want to call it now, just like wipe his brow. He was like, you could see that. We'll get onto it, but he might have been the hardest working person there that day, and he wasn't even playing.
No, without a doubt, without a doubt. Yet again, it's the measure of the man for the work that he's putting in. But also, it didn't appear that he said no to anybody. And also, I mean, we've got to touch on obviously the game itself was an exciting game, wasn't it? It ended up being very very Saintsy because on the drive for the Saints to go and win the game, they got an interception that felt
Musketeers,
horribly Saintsy. Yeah,
yeah,
no, I'm saying,
Musketeers to
but
win
yeah,
the game.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
But but I'm going to do a big, massive shout out to the Red Company, which is the ultras for the Paris Musketeers. Not a huge amount of fans there. It was a healthy number of fans there. The noise they made was absolutely incredible. They were so well organized, so loud, and
Passionate.
it was genuinely, yeah, passionate. But it was genuinely for me one of the highlights of the whole thing is that obviously Demario went up to meet them and lead a chant up there, but Demario absolutely looked like he loved it up there. I mean, if anybody gets the opportunity, go onto the Paris Musketeers Insta or even the Red Company Insta and have a look at some of the clips. And he's leading the chant and he's loving it. And in fact, I
Got the
think he went up
megaphone.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he went up a second time. I don't even know if he was asked to. He just went up there and he was having the time of his life up
Yeah,
there.
he
He
was on the
absolutely
drum. He
loved
had
it
the
up there.
megaphone. He was going for it. He was dancing. He had one of their scarves that he put around. I
Yeah,
mean, he was not enough already, and to put a scarf around his neck.
I know.
Fair play to you, Demario.
Yeah,
I would,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to take my shirt off, not put another layer
No.
on.
But yeah, that was one of the highlights. Their fans were one of the highlights, absolutely incredible, but also a highlight seeing Demario up there and actually genuinely looking like he was having a fantastic time
Yeah,
up there. So hats off to the Paris Musketeers and if they are, I think they're ultras. Um, which I think if for American listeners, ultras are they're like the fanatic supporters.
yeah.
They're like the organised area of support in Europe, mostly for soccer
So
teams.
what you might
But
see at like
obviously,
a Seattle Sounders game in the
mm,
MLS, they have a similar sort of thing where they have I think they have a singing section, and the people in there, it's just that sort of thing.
yeah.
So from that, like getting to being on, we were there for as they came out the tunnel. We got Mrs.
Mm.
Benson was standing, 10 foot away from us. She gave us a wave when we was taking photos. She was next to me on the cart as they took her onto the field to do the coin toss with Demario.
Just
I honestly didn't
for
get a chance to talk
anybody,
to
yeah,
her.
again, sorry, Dan. Yeah, again, anybody out there, go and have the look at the little video montage that we put up, and you'll see how happy Dan was when Mrs. Benson drove past him. He was elated. So
That's the
he's not
closest I've
lying.
ever been to a billionaire that I'm aware of in my life.
Yeah,
So
fair point. Fair point.
I wanted to meet her and shake her hand and go, that's a $7 billion handshake. But yeah, she was there. And she was up in the stands with Greg Bensall watching the game, and with a VIP contingent of local politicians and media people and stuff like that, which was good to see them there. I really enjoyed being picked up. We was on the by the tunnel for when the teams came out, and that was really cool because we were literally right there as they ran out. They was literally I could high five them if I wanted to. Being Bastille Day, they had special uniforms. They came out with flares or
Yeah.
smoke bombs that were blue and red. Came running out. What I liked is they interjected Saint songs into throughout the day, right? I think they did stand up and get crunk at one point for a touchdown, and they did the
Mm.
Saints to come in. They did a couple of other New Orleans songs, which I thought was pretty good, played to the occasion. But just being able to, like, we could literally walk up during the game, walk up and stand just behind Jack Del Rio and his coaching staff and watch the game. We were that our access was that unfettered, which was fantastic. We could walk up and down the sideline, get close to the action when we wanted to see it, which I thought was fantastic. Really, really good opportunity. And I don't even think, Nick Underhill and Ross Jackson and those guys probably even get that access during the game, right? Because they're up in the media
Different,
box watching the plays. It's very
different,
different.
different level of play.
Yeah,
No, you're right. It was a great experience, and also a great experience as you touched on earlier. We've been friends with John and Elio from French Quarter Podcast now for a couple of years. Never had the opportunity to meet them, and it was great to meet John, and also it was wonderful to meet Bertrand as well. But from a point of view of John, it was like watching a kid on Christmas, wasn't it, for John? Because obviously he'd had the previous couple of days of
yeah.
access as well. I think
The fact that
Elio,
Demario came over and made a beeline for him
yeah,
and said, "How you doing?" That's
exactly.
great, amazing.
But so watching one of your friends who's had that access, and for him as a Saints fan who runs the number one podcast, French podcast for the Saints, it was wonderful for him, and seeing him get that sort of access and enjoyment was
And they've been
wonderful,
running
really
that
great.
Twitter page for 13, 14 years. So they're not,
Mm,
we had them on just when the international marketing rights were announced to Paris, and we're talking to them about coming on doing another crossover episode with them
yeah,
in the near future. But they've been putting in the work long before this was in the pipeline. So I think it's wonderful to see your friends get
yeah,
those opportunities, and he's such a nice guy, John, and Ilio is as well. It was
it
nice to
is.
meet the other guys.
Yeah,
It was great for him, and he,
but
he was he was a perfect host for us as well, right? Because he was basically
absolutely.
looking after us during the day, taking us to places. If we had any problems with our French or anything like that, he was on hand to help us out, which was great, and I can't thank him
If
enough.
we had any problems with our French, we're fairly fluent, but a couple of words
I
would
said,
flummox
I
us.
said Fritz, all right. When I wanted my chips, I
Yeah,
said
no,
Fritz.
all right. Yeah, you big yourself up, Dan. Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny actually because when you're over there, obviously I did French when I was at school, which was 80 years ago or whatever it was. But when you're over there and you start using a couple of words of French, it's funny how many words and phrases do come back to you. So I think at times, sort of, I used a few phrases that actually I thought I'd forgotten. So, and yet again, that's just common courtesy. Any country I go to, I always try to at least learn the sort of courteous phrases that you should use. But yeah, I was quite surprised at just how many little tidbits of French did come back. So, but yeah,
I
yeah,
heard you say "voulez-vous coucher avec moi" a couple of times. I wasn't sure who you was talking to, or if you were just
yeah,
singing a song. Could have just been singing a song. For all I know, you're just a big Christina Aguilera.
enculé.
Listen, my cab
Yeah,
driver appreciated my Sava when I got in Sava, and I quickly
yeah,
followed
yeah,
that up
yeah.
with "I'm English," so that's the extent of it.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's it.
I mean, as you said, the game is exciting, right? There was a absolute fantastic Hail Mary pass. Quarterback got outside the pocket, nothing going on, launched it downfield. Defender or the receiver doesn't quite get it. It bounces up in the air, and their star player, Mitchell, comes up and just scoops it out for the touchdown. We were talking to Sam, who's part of the PR team at the Saints, and he was like, "We definitely got to try and get that on ESPN tonight or something, just as one of the plays of the day." And it was the whole place
It was funny.
erupted when it happened, erupted.
Yeah, yeah. It was it was a good level of football, but an exciting game. And actually, fair play because the Vikings had a few fans there. I was quite surprised at how many had actually
Yeah,
travelled.
LSU,
They're quite,
the uniforms at
yeah,
LSU as well, weren't they?
yeah. So fair play to them, and yeah, just a great experience. And it's it makes me sort of wonder why. I mean, I know it's not on that level, but I maybe need to investigate a little bit more about whether or not I've got a local, because obviously we have a league over here where my local football team is. I do believe there's one in Watford, so I might actually have a look and see when I can get along to those games, because I think they're normally played on Sunday as well. So that might be an interesting
You
thing to do. So,
believe there are talks of a British team joining the European Football Alliance or League of Football.
yeah, it shouldn't even be a conversation piece, should it? The amount of the
You
amount
got the
of
Claymores, all them
NFL.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was just saying the amount of NFL that we've had over in London, and the amount that it's been pushed over here. It seems very sad that we haven't got somebody in that league.
Yeah.
But,
Well, maybe.
I'm sure there's somebody. I'm sure there's somebody with resources who can make that work. Maybe one of the teams that's got that have got international marketing rights over here. Put a bit of
Well,
money where your mouth is.
yeah. Well, it'd be nice to see, right? The Saints are investing in
Yeah.
partnerships with the Musketeers because that's the logical thing to do. Like the Jags haven't done it, as far as I'm aware. I'm
No.
not sure the other teams. So moving on, we obviously that was all great, and then we decided we wanted to get a photo with Demario, with the both of us with the flag, with the Saint CME flag. He was there, and I kept putting you off, and you were going, "Let's just do it." And I was like, "Hang on, let him finish with this person." And then he wandered off, and I thought, "Oh, we're done." And I remember saying to you, "We'll get him when he comes back." And in my head, in my heart, I just thought, "He ain't coming back. He's done."
Mm.
And he wandered off, and then I went and sort of sat on the step a little bit forlorn and disappointed in myself. I've missed an opportunity, but he came back at the end of the game, did some
Yeah.
on-field stuff with the team, did some post-game interviews, and we saw him up on the VIP section. We made a beeline up there because the true VIPs, the money VIPs had gone, so we was allowed
Yeah.
up there. And again, shout out to Sam, the PR guy for the Saints. You said to him, Sam,
Yeah.
can we just get a little photo with one more photo with Demario? And he was like, "Yep, absolutely, I've got you." Demario came around, got a photo with the flag, shook our hands again.
Yeah.
Just he was looking to get out
Yeah.
of his wife.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that was good as well. They do all
And
the post-match interviews on the field, don't they?
yeah, the funny thing about where with the flag and Demario, I think people will probably be a bit surprised that in those circumstances, both me and you are very, very British, as in old British, which is courteous. Whereas everybody else, every time, like when you were like thinking, "Oh, we've got to get the photo," and it's like, "Oh no, don't want to disturb him." Literally, 25 people would just disturb him. Whereas yours, we were sort of standing back saying, he's
Waiting
been
for an
working bloody
opportunity.
hard. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So,
he was working
that
so hard. That's
we
what we didn't
weren't
want to do.
we weren't elbowing 12-year-olds out the way to get a picture of him with the flag.
No, but I had somewhat of an adverse physical reaction.
Yeah. What happened, mate? You're right.
I
Can you
started
stand up?
shaking. I started shaking, and my legs were going. I was like, "Ugh." And
Bless you.
I had this just complete wave of nervous energy come over me, just
Yeah.
because it was when I met him outside. It was very quick because I was trying to get through
Yeah.
everyone to make sure I had an opportunity to meet him. But that was a moment
A
where there
more
was no other
informal
noise.
meet.
There was no other
Yeah.
noise, right? It was just us
No.
and him and his wife and
So yeah,
Sam and
and yet
bit of
again,
Dom.
if you go onto any of our social media, you'll see a picture of us with Demario with the Saint City Me flag, and that's not a hobbit. That is Dan. So
Hey there, Mr. Frodo. So yeah, that was pretty much the end of our day there, right? We got some photos with they
yeah,
had Musketeer and Saints helmets, got some photos of Saints
yeah,
France, and then we went and got an Uber back, got into a hotel, got ourselves a beer, and quickly
mm,
learned that it wasn't just the business
staff.
staff that was staying in the hotel, because I looked up and saw the man that I thought wasn't that big, looking quite tall, walking towards us with his wife. And I was just like, "Oh, tomorrow is it?" And I was like, "I don't want him to think we're stalking him." So I just put my head
I know
down. Um,
it
and then
felt very awkward, didn't it?
it was awkward. Like, you think to yourself, "Oh, this is great." But then you quickly realize that we look like stalkers. And you
Yeah,
don't want to look like stalkers because you're not being
no,
stalkers. So we actually, in fairness, we saw everyone who we saw at the game, other than Mrs. Benson and Greg Bensel at the hotel. I don't think they saw us, and we did not disturb them.
no,
We was like,
no.
let's let they're off the clock. Let them get on and crack on with what
There
they're
was
doing.
one point where I was outside. I don't know if you remember this, where I was outside and I saw after Demario had walked past, and I went outside to have a cigarette, and I saw the other members of staff coming out of a sort of a taxi, And do you
Should
remember
have
what
gone.
I did? I
I
went
thought
and
they
hit.
was in a G wagon.
Yeah, it
Looked
was
like
a
a
G
G
wagon. Do
wagon.
you remember what I went and hid behind a tree because I didn't
It's
want them thinking we
like
were stalking them.
between two ferns. He was like a
Yeah.
skinny Zach Galifianakis.
I was like that meme, weren't I? You can't see me with my big fat
Yeah,
gut
I
hanging out.
can see you.
Yeah,
We can see you. You
yeah,
got a
yeah.
big tank set on.
So yeah, it was great that we were in the same hotel as them, but actually, in reality, it was like, oh god, we don't want to look like we're stalking, because
Yeah, and
you know
all we
that's
had
not our
with us was
shtick.
Saints clothes as well, so we couldn't even bloody
Yeah.
blend in. So that was good. And then we
Well,
went out for dinner in the evening,
you had
didn't
a
we?
nice shirt.
It was creased. I didn't even wear it. It was
Exactly.
thick.
Anyway,
It was
yeah.
too hot as well. So we went out for dinner in Paris, just two of us, very romantic. We're sending our wives photos of us both together. Mike got cramp in his
Neither of
leg.
them have been to Paris, have they?
Oh, it's awful. Do you know, never been to
They've been
Paris.
to Paris Disneyland, haven't they? The pair of them, but
Yeah,
neither have been to Paris, and then their husbands are having a romantic dinner on the streets of Paris.
it was all right. We could have gone somewhere better. If we'd probably ventured out a bit more, but
Yeah,
it was close. It was convenient. You got cramp in your leg, which I posted online.
yeah,
You pulled a hammy.
yeah. I'd said to you prior to that I could feel it. Something was going on,
Yeah.
and then yeah, when we were sitting down having our romantic meal with beers, yeah, I got quite a severe case of fucking cramp in my hamstring.
Then
Which,
we
yeah, you like
hop.
any good mate who's looking out for his mate, you just recorded it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's just what Mum told me to do. If there's any misfortune, just film people because it's funny, and you can send it to
Yeah,
You've Been Framed. So we bar hopped after, went and got ourselves some whiskey sours, and then spent about 45 minutes working out how we were going to tell Roger Goodell that international marketing rights are bad and it's restrictive and it's a little bit of cannibalization of the of
yeah,
fan bases that already exist. And we're pretty sure that if we get those tickets again, like we did last year, we're going to go and do it. We're going to go
yeah.
and ask him that question, right? We've got
Yeah,
it
that's the
teed up in
question
our
that
head.
we're actually going to put to him.
Bit hazy, obviously, because we'd had a few drinks,
Yeah.
but the general gist of it is there. And as we said, can you imagine the Premier League stopping teams from marketing in Asia and America? No, you couldn't.
No.
So why'd you do it for the NFL?
No,
Anyway, that's the
but
gist of it.
and also it's that sort of thing. Yeah, again, we can talk on it from a Saints perspective, but the fact that they're not allowed to advertise, promote, even get involved with fan meetups over
Yeah,
here,
no
and
fan, no
that's not
podcast.
only us. That yeah, there's another 18 teams in the
Or
UK who
let's
that's
correct it. They can't do it in the region that the marketing rights
no,
are allocated. Right? They could do it
no, they can't.
on a global basis, or they could do it back in region.
Yeah. But yeah, but the whole thing about I just don't get that because in theory they're not even allowed to retweet stuff like that and all that sort of good stuff because that would be deemed as promotion. I just
Yeah,
think that's very backwards.
I mean, we're lucky, right? Because France is so close to the UK, and we can
Yeah,
go there as easy as I can go to Scotland, right, or Edinburgh or Dublin. And I'm really pleased that our friends get that exposure. I think it's fantastic. And from a cultural point of view, I think it makes total sense, and it's great to see the team looking to expand their footprint in France and grow their fan base internationally. I just find it restrictive, right? We're lucky. If the Saints
yeah.
team was Australia, we're no good for us. Do you know what I mean? No good for anyone. No good for Saints Germany, Saints España, Saints France. No good for any of us.
Saints Italy, Saints Denmark. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Denmark,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's
Ulrich,
a little
go on.
bit puzzling. It's a little bit puzzling because obviously it feels restrictive. I do understand. Obviously they want teams to invest in those areas and actually do it properly. But as you were saying, it just feels restrictive, and it sort of makes other fans feel their noses are put out of joint. You just don't think it really works for you, and especially like obviously with everybody on social media, and then you see all these amazing fan meetups for games where it's promoted by the club and they probably invested a little bit of money in it, and then actually you're then having to gather all your friends together to have it, and then you get no publicity for it. We do that every Super Bowl. We now meet up as a group of Saints fans. We are always the biggest group of fans there, apart from the two teams that ever play in the Super Bowl. We're always the largest contingent of other fans, but that gets no claim or publicity because they're not allowed to actually sort of
Yeah,
promote it.
you can tell we've
That's
done some
just
reading up on this over the last few.
yeah,
Last.
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
So, yeah, and just our last day, which was really nice actually. We walked down to Notre
Yeah,
Dame, got some photos at the Saints Bar, had a drink, had a you had a iced coffee,
a
and I
nice
had a
iced coffee.
Coke
Yeah,
Zero because we was being very
yeah,
sensible. Walked along the
yeah.
Seine down to the Eiffel Tower and went and had some drinks at a place just by the Eiffel Tower, which was nice. And we got an Uber home. But it was really cool because we get to see all of the
Mm.
military coming in, the helicopters. We got to see
Yeah.
all the
Parachutes.
army stuff coming through as part of the parade. Very cool, very cool, very patriotic. I enjoyed it a lot. A lot of
Yeah,
white and red and blue smoke in the sky and stuff. And it was very nice walkable city. The part that we went to, I thought it was nice. We walked through
yeah,
the part of the Luxembourg, there was some jazz bands playing and
yeah,
beautiful buildings in there. It was really look at us sounding all
yeah.
cultured.
Well, we were. I mean, it was sort of a good old. It was like a 3 hour walk, so we did a lot of walking, didn't we? And yet again, that was with massive rucksacks on, and it was like
Oh, it
30
was
odd degrees, and yeah.
wetted.
So
Took my hat off. It was
yeah,
like Niagara.
yeah. But it was a lovely walk along the River Seine. So yeah, yeah. No, it was a nice ending to the trip over there, and then obviously we then make our way back to the airport after that, don't we? And then we get another delay
Another delay.
because that's
European flights. Why only go transatlantic?
European flights. Yeah,
European flights are awful, awful.
yeah.
And
So
then we
it
got
was
home and
it
the
was a
trains were buggered. The trains are out as well.
oh god,
It's like what should have been a very straightforward sort of 2 hour journey home for
yeah,
me from getting on the plane to getting in the front door was not. Was not.
no,
So it was good,
no,
right? It was a good experience. I would encourage any UK fan or even European fan, if your team is doing an event like this at one of the regions in Europe where they have media credential, not media, where they have marketing rights, if you can go because it's a really good experience. If you can go for the full period they're doing it, even better. Because
yeah,
I think if those teams do what the Saints did, you'll get great access to
yeah,
staff and players. And if we'd gotten outside earlier, we would have met Mrs. Benson. That's on us. Maybe one day in the future. Who knows? Who knows? If
absolutely,
my Euro Millions
absolutely,
comes in tonight and I get a box next to her,
yeah.
any
No, as you said, no, I just think yet again, I think I'm going to reiterate something you said earlier in the pod, which is thanks again to our wives. I don't think that we're both sort of in fortunate positions where we can sort of do this anyway, but it doesn't matter about that fortunate position if you haven't got a supportive spouse. And I think both of ours are hugely supportive of us, and not many wives would have allowed at such short notice their husbands to just bugger off for a 3 day event at such short notice. So yeah, just a big thank you to both Karen and Nick for that.
Yeah, I want to echo that. Nick tolerates a lot of rubbish from me when it comes
Mm.
to the Saints, and she's very. Let's be fair, she's out there buying herself Aaron Andrews clothes and stuff at the minute, Saints stuff. So she's all in. She's like make it happen. Get us. She wants sideline passes. So I think she wants to she probably wants to get rid of me and chat up a player. Maybe I don't know. Put her in the direction of a good one. Yeah, we'll see. But I want to thank like John and Bettered for looking after us.
Yeah,
Want to thank those Saints staff that we interacted with because they could have just said
yeah,
to us, "Bugger off!" Right? They
yeah,
didn't. They were very polite. If you need anything, here's my email address. Contact me.
mm.
It was all really good. And actually, again, that insight, seeing how hard they worked at an event like that, and you think you magnify that for when they're at a game because
Yeah,
I've seen them all at games. Right when we went to New York to watch the Giants game, I saw all of the people that were there, and then other people, and they was all doing something. You don't realise they're always doing something to make sure that everything goes as it should. So yeah, shout out to those guys. Gave me a really good insight into running a game day operation, albeit on a very. I'm going to do something we don't do very often. If you've enjoyed this
mm.
episode, please follow us. Please like, subscribe. See me on all platforms. Me and Mike are really trying to make a concerted effort to help with the growth of the fan base in the UK and in Europe and broader internationally. If you stumbled across this and listened to the end, Corey, Give us a like, subscribe, follow. We really appreciate it. Any feedback, if you want to come on as a guest in the future, if you've got a story
Yeah.
to tell, yeah, we're storytellers. That's what we like to do. We want to share stories about fans around the world. As you can tell, I'm sober on this episode, so I'm talking coherently, and that's why we want to move forward. So yeah, please give us that feedback and interaction, because I love nothing more than talking Saints, like genuinely.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, and we're both working hard to push things forward, aren't we? So we're hoping for other stuff moving forward to sort of come to the fore. But as you said, you're right, Dan. We never, for want of a better expression, never beg for follows and whatever. And we're not. If you want to follow us, follow us. If you don't, that's
If you
fair
don't, you
enough.
don't. Right, that's fine. But if
Yeah,
we want to grow the fan base, so if you're
yeah,
listening and you're an international fan or a fan in the US and you like what we're doing,
yeah. Because we're always
let's
over in
interact.
the city. We're over in
Yeah,
October, aren't we? We've had the opportunity to meet wonderful people in Louisiana, New Orleans, who are now firm friends. Also, actually, if there's anybody here who's listening, drop us a line and maybe drop into our Discord, which is a really great place. Yet again, come in there, some really wonderful people. And for our trip over in October, so many people from Louisiana are doing so many wonderful things on our behalf. So yeah, so also, yeah, if you fancy getting into a Discord with some really good, reasonable Saints fans, let
and
us
it's not
know.
just Saints talk, right? There's movies. There's
Yep.
we've got a wholesome
God.
channel for wholesome stuff.
Yeah. And actually,
And
if you're into golf, come into it, because the golf one is the
golf channel
couple
is
last
popping, right? Everyone's playing
last
golf.
2 weeks,
I
that's just
I
been
love
going
that.
fire, isn't it?
Yeah, we probably should
Yeah.
invite Jason in as he's at the Open. But yeah,
Yeah.
there's some good stuff in there, and also a lot of what we try and do is leverage recommendations off of people we know. So if you're looking to plan the trip to New Orleans and you want some tips, this it's the perfect place to go without having to trawl through.
Yeah.
People will answer your questions, right? People will give you good insight.
Yeah. And
So
if you are listening to this and you're from outside of the US, and or even if you are in the US but not in New Orleans, and you're thinking of planning a trip over to see the Saints, we're going to be in the city for the October game against the Bucks. Yet again, there's a number of people who are going to be coming over from the UK to New Orleans. We're arranging things. We're off to LSU, aren't we? Obviously, we're hoping when the Pelicans fixtures come out, we'll be going to there. But we're organising stuff when we're over there. So if you're planning a trip, let us know and we can help you organise yourself when you're over there.
absolutely, what a great way to sign off, Mike. So
Yeah.
we've had a great weekend. We're going to be coming to you a bit more frequently. We've got I know we said before, we've got a good runway of episodes that we're looking to knock out.
Yeah.
I'm going to the US for 10 days in August. That might be a bit of a blackout then, but I'll be back in time for pre-season. And we can do those we do Zoom parties as well. Obviously, you got to have your own subscription to watch the game. We don't offer that because we can't. It's illegal, obviously. But yeah, if you can catch a game and you want to jump in a Zoom with us and watch it with some other fans, we do that as well. Anyway, on that note, Mike, it was a pleasure making another trip with you. What's this now? New
Yeah,
Orleans,
absolutely.
New York, and Paris we've been to
Twice.
together. Look at us. We're like
Look at
New
Paris,
York
New York twice, New Orleans four
four
times or
times.
five.
Look at
Yeah.
us. I've been away with you more than my wife.
I
That's a
know.
lie.
Well,
Me
no.
and Nick go quite a
Anybody
lot.
who listens to this, no, that's not true.
That's
Freaking
not
hell, you're
true.
away all the time. That's a bit pot kettle there. Anyway.
It is a bit. Anyway, if you see me in the Florida Keys in a couple of weeks, say hi. On that note, so we're signing off. Who dat?
Who dat, baby?